All right. Welcome to Halitics. I'm Hal Ginsberg, and happy Thanksgiving week. This will be my final episode of Halitics until next week, till Monday. And we spoke yesterday, of course, to the left-handed leftist, Carlos. Carlos will be with us this Monday, so 1 week from yesterday. Again, looking forward to that. Of course, he's always great, and you should check out his podcast, The Left-Handed Leftist. Today, it's just you and I hope you'll take the opportunity to give me a call because you won't have another chance to talk to me, and I won't have another chance to talk to you for a few days. If you want to talk about the holiday coming up, what your thoughts are on that. Some people, are opposed to Thanksgiving, and I totally get it. It is, celebrating empire and manifest destiny and all that. And although there's kind of a nice story, right? The indigenous peoples and the English who had arrived on the Mayflower were able to sit down and break bread. It's a nice story, but it did not end well for the people who were here first. So, if you have a problem with this holiday, I get it. I understand the concerns. And if you want to share that, I'm happy to discuss it with you. I think most people enjoy Thanksgiving, getting to be with family. The traffic's going to be awful, though. It really is. I'm looking forward to getting to my destination. It will probably be early tomorrow morning. I don't see us getting out on the road until after 8:30, 9 o'clock because of the terrible, terrible traffic conditions. I think the news... Well, I wanted to talk, obviously the big story, I think it came out Friday. I was listening to Sam Seder. He does the podcast there, The Majority Report, and I've started to like him a little bit, warm up to him a bit. He's, I think, moved to the left. I think he's moved closer to me. I remember when he opposed the force the vote plan that Jimmy Dore floated. I don't know if he invented it, but he certainly was the one who promoted it, Jimmy Dore, and there was really a huge amount of bad blood between Dore and Sam Seder. At the time, I greatly preferred Jimmy Dore to Sam Seder. And I think if you look back in the at the end of 2020, that you'd have to consider Dore, at least certainly from my perspective, my views, Dore was a much more prescient host, much more on top of things, really recognizing early on just how wholly corrupt the Democratic elites were at that time. So, I think Dore got it right. Seder got it wrong. But since then, they've gone in different paths, and I've found myself more and more in agreement with Seder, The Majority Report, and less with Dore, who's embraced nonsensical global warming denial arguments, has, because of his understandable contempt for the Democratic Party and the Democratic leadership, I think made excuses for Trump. Some say I do that. I try not to do that. I think Trump has been a horrible, horrible president, done extraordinary harm. And again, I just look at, my judge, I just look at metrics. What's the death count? What's the cost? Who's hurt by these policies? Is anybody helped by them? Some of the policies that Trump has pushed, I think on balance, are probably better than what the Democrats have done or would have done. Looking at the Ukraine situation now, as bad as Trump is, and he is bad. I mean, he is not like a peace promoter and he goes back and forth like a ping pong ball. He's playable. Did Mamdani play him? That's sort of the question for today's program. Who's zooming who between Zoran and the Donald? I think they're both trying to play each other, to be honest with you. But certainly the way Mamdani is handling Trump tells you the way Democrats should have, could have, and would have handled him if they had followed my advice back in 2017. I think we'd be in a better place. The Democrats deserve a lot of the blame for how bad we are now in terms of this country's trajectory and in terms of how bad the world has become. I think the Democrats deserve a lot of the blame, even for how bad Trump has turned out. If they had tried to make nice with him a little bit, found areas of common ground, which there were absolutely areas of common ground, Trump may not have turned into the monster that he has clearly become in many areas. And I'm thinking right now just about the vindictive prosecutions of Letitia James and James Comey, both of which were thrown out by court. Apparently he's appealing them. It's so clearly politically motivated hyperpartisanship is just the worst we've seen in that regard, this absolute, a prosecution that's purely motivated by politics. I think we saw some of that with Trump. I'm not saying that he wasn't the victim as well, but this seems even worse to me, just going after individuals, overriding the recommendations of your prosecutors, which is what Trump did. And that's why the cases against James and Comey have been dismissed. They're appealing it, but the argument is you don't get to just willy-nilly select out of the blue a prosecutor who's going to do what you want when the career prosecutors have looked at the evidence and said, no, you don't have a case for malicious prosecution. You don't have a case for, partisan, false arrest, basically, which is what Trump was calling his prosecution. So you don't get to just find somebody who's going to do that. And to be fair to the Democrats with the bogus Russiagate allegations and all that, they did have an independent counsel, and the independent counsel ultimately said, no, we don't have a case. And that was the end of it. 240-242-5646, 240-242-5646. Trump's worst actions, I've said, and I've said this forever, the treatment of immigrants, the abusive treatment of people trying to find a better life has been just ugly, fascistic, concentration camp tactics, just absolutely wrong, reprehensible, as well as this term now, the promotion of the Israeli genocide of the Palestinians. Those are absolutely unforgivable, awful things that he has done. Does that make it okay? Does that mean Mamdani shouldn't have sat, or Mamdani didn't sit down? Does that mean it's okay, or it's not okay that Mamdani met with him and smiled and was involved in a photo op with Trump? No, I think Mamdani did the right thing. Now, we can talk about what he did the wrong thing. We talked about that yesterday. His calling off challenges to Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. I think that's absolutely the wrong thing to do. We'll get into that a little bit more greater detail. I've already talked about it. But let's start with, we're not going to go to, as so often I do, even now, even since the quote ceasefire was announced back in October, there have been so many atrocities committed by Israel since then. I've continued to report them. By the way, situation in Sudan also just horrific. There was a mass killing there. I think about 340 people killed in Sudan recently. Was it outside some sort of a center there? So that terrible situation, the reported massacre at the hospital there in Sudan's Al-Fashir left 460 dead. So we don't want to ignore what's happening in other places around the world where terrible atrocities are occurring. And, this is, again, look, I give, Bill Clinton acknowledged he should have done more to stop the Rwandan genocide. As far as we can tell, Trump's totally indifferent to this, and as have previous Democratic presidents. Well, he's a Republican, but the previous presidents as well. So there you go. This is from a few days ago there in Sudan. We need to do more. We need to do something. That's something that Bill Clinton said he wished he had done when it came to Rwanda. And I don't know if the U.S. has just given up the idea that we're because of our power, we have an obligation, we have a duty to try to prevent mass murder. By the way, that date, a little bit in the past, I thought it was a November story. The killings outside the hospital there by the RSF militia were that occurred or was reported October 29th. 460 patients killed at Saudi Maternity Hospital in the city there. All right, 240-242-5646, 240-242-5646, if you want to join me. All right, to get to American stories or American politics, this was really, really interesting there. And by the way, folks, I got to plead some significant amount of ignorance with respect to what's happening in Africa. I know that the situation there is absolutely horrible. I'm going to try to really educate myself, so I'll be able to speak more, in a more informed way about that situation. This is from CBS News. This past Saturday, Trump and Mamdani meet in Oval Office. We'll play parts of the clip here. Got a caller as well. Stephanie is checking in. Let me get Stephanie on here. Stephanie, if you can just hold, or you know what? I always like to give my callers the pride of place. So good morning or good afternoon, Stephanie. How are you today?
Hi, Hal. I'm happy to be catching your show, and I'm happy to wait. Also, if you're in the middle of a point you want to make, I just wanted to pick up on some of your Zohran Mamdani points.
Oh, please go ahead. No, don't. Well, the clip was of Mamdani with Trump at the White House. Is that where you want to go, or did you want to talk about his calling off Chiosei's bid to unseat Hakeem Jeffries?
Both. I agree with both your takes on this, basically. Big surprise. I think he did the right thing by being civil in the meeting with Trump. The tone that they struck in the press conference afterwards was like a breath of fresh air in this toxic stew we are in all the time. I feel like what Mamdani's been doing right is keeping himself uber focused on his role as mayor of New York City. So when he was asked about, will you go to Tel Aviv? He's like, I'm mayor of New York. I want to be mayor of New York. And I'm not, he's not the Secretary of State. He's not the head of the DNC. He's keeping really hyper focused on getting things done for New York. And to the extent that kind of like de-escalating the war of words with Trump helps him do that. That's exactly what he should do. And that's, the role of the path of leadership. It's a great example. I was disappointed, and I share your disappointment in his calling, backing Jeffries, basically, saying he doesn't back a challenge to Jeffries, because I don't think Jeffries is doing any of us any good, nor that entire wing of the party. And also, I was disappointed at his subsequent press conferences where he really kind of backed off that tone he had with Trump, when he was sort of forced into a corner, and the press does this, and it's really awful, but like forced into a corner to say, I still consider Trump a fascist. Look, Trump's a fascist, all right? But dude's a narcissist, and you got to know how to deal with narcissists. And Democrats totally missed their chance to do harm reduction with Donald Trump by playing to him from day one. Instead, they doubled down on the Russia thing. They just decided it was best for all their political careers to catastrophize relentlessly from day one. And as a result of that, we left a narcissist to people, Project 2025 people, who would, play up to him, massage his ego, make him feel powerful, and we ceded any opportunity for any influence whatsoever on a man who I think essentially has no political compass. Deep inside, he has only personal animus, you like me, you don't like me, you're for me, you're not for me, I'm going to hate you, I'm going to like you based on that,
Sure, 100%. Let me just jump in. Trump is not an ideological guy. He really isn't. He doesn't, I don't think, have deeply felt positions on issues, except to the extent he sees them as reflecting on him or either aggrandizing him, enriching him, or the opposite. And the Democrats should have used those traits, those tendencies to position themselves better in his first term. And so we've all suffered as a result. But as you said, I agree with this 100%. They didn't do that, not because they didn't figure it out or not because they weren't politically savvy. Maybe they're not. I'm not saying they are savvy, but they didn't do it because they benefit, their benefactors, their donor class benefits from this hyper-partisan sniping, rather than when the parties can get together and actually agree on doing things for the will of the people. And there were things that Trump, he could have said, yeah, you're right about the tariffs. We need to stop these insane free trade deals that destroy our country. Yeah, we should try to, because Trump talked about things like cutting the Pentagon budget. And I'm not saying he did it, but they could have said, oh, he's so smart. What a smart guy. He wants to reduce the budget. We agree. But They didn't.
No, and
they
the
don't.
reason they didn't, I agree with you, of course, 100%. It's the people at Center for American Progress and all the think tanks, and they're just concerned about staying in power, improving their profile, remaining relevant. They actually don't even care about getting things done for the people. They care about being in perpetual positions to have a career based off of partisanship, right? And so that is what's running the country now, and that is why everyone is losing. And, we have ceded everything to the Project 2025 ghouls who really are trying to end democracy in America by not, putting the interests of the people above careerist partisan interests. And it's too late now, but Zoran Mamdani did strike a very notable difference in his press conference, and I wish he'd continue with that. It would be nice to see us wrest Trump a little bit away from Project 2025 between now and the end of his term. I think that would be the only opportunity to mildly reduce harm between now and the end of his term, assuming there is an end to his term, which I know the Project 2025 people would like to make sure doesn't happen. So I just want to say I agree with you, Hal.
All right, before you run, I want one last question. Stephanie is a great progressive organizer. That's how we first met, was organizing together. And so I want your advice about something. I just put this on screen. This is a response to what we both just said. AOC and Mamdani aren't selling out. They're playing strategy, backing a hopeless challenge, would shrink progressive leverage. This is about keeping access, building power, and avoiding purity politics. I don't want to get into arguing with this person, but they asked me later on in the thread because I said helping Hakeem Jeffries isn't building power. Building power is defeating Hakeem Jeffries because he uses his power to prevent needed change. He is actually takes power away from poor, struggling, working people. Here's my question for you, Stephanie, which is the same that was asked me. Okay, you don't like Jeffries. You don't think that Democrats should support Democrats, at least Democrats like Mamdani shouldn't support Democrats like Jeffries. What is your strategy? So that's my question. What is your strategy?
I don't know that I have a clear answer for you, but I will say a lot of it depends on whether or not this challenge, as characterized in this quote, is indeed hopeless. Is it hopeless? Are we just saying it's hopeless to avoid the friction of going up against Jeffries? He's not popular. Nobody likes Jeffries. So I don't see how it can be hopeless. And if it's not hopeless, no, I think that they should go against him. I think the progressives should, push back, as we can, as we have the power to do that, push back against this leadership that drowns the progressive movement at every turn. If Jeffries had his way, he really almost didn't even endorse Mamdani. He waited until it was really like, you're not going to endorse the winning Democrat if you don't endorse Mamdani. So, he waited until the last. We've got, Trump endorsing Cuomo, who's a nightmare of a person who killed so many people's grandmothers, let alone the sexual stuff. So the fact that Mamdani can't get off the dime to
slapping fannies and killing grannies. That's Andrew Cuomo.
So the fact that Jeffries did not endorse Mamdani with all that in the periphery is damning. I mean, he's done nothing. He does nothing. He says nothing. He does nothing. Schumer says nothing, does nothing. These people say nothing, do nothing. We're done with those people. So I think we should oppose them.
Stephanie, thank you so much. I hope you get to enjoy this week. I hope you get some time off and spend Thanksgiving Day or whatever holiday, however you celebrate it, with people you love and care about you.
Thank you, Hal.
All right. You take care. Great to hear from Stephanie. What a great person. What a great caller. We will continue our conversation. Listen, let me get to, and if you want to join me, 240-242-5646. I do want to play this of Mamdani meeting Trump. We kind of went over it quite a bit, but I thought there was, well, let's see. Where did I, now I got to kind of lost my thread a little bit. Sorry about that, folks. Let's play the clip and see what happens here.
I think you're going to have, hopefully, a really great mayor.
President Trump praised New York City Mayor-elect Zoomin Mamdani during their first meeting in the Oval Office.
We talked about some things in very strong common, like housing and getting housing built and food and prices.
The two men on opposite ends of the political spectrum agreeing on issues impacting Americans and New Yorkers.
I am really looking forward to delivering for New Yorkers in partnership with the president on the affordability agenda.
Before their meeting, Trump and Mamdani engaged in a contentious back and forth, trading insults ahead of New York City's mayoral election.
So I want to stop it right there for a second. Yeah, there was definitely Mamdani positioned himself as the guy who would stand up to Trump, whose policies were the most different than Trump's. Remember, Cuomo said, well, you need somebody with my experience who can, was a knife fighter to take on Trump. And Mamdani's like, hey, my policies are different than Trump's. Yours are the same. I will take on Trump. He did call Trump's policies fascistic. I don't think he quite called Trump a fascist. Maybe he did. I could have missed it. And guess what? They meet. Trump is all nicey nice. Trump complimented him. We have some of the same policies. Trump's like wants to it really felt like Trump was trying to bask in Mamdani's glow. And that was notwithstanding the fact that Mamdani campaigned in part against Trump in his race to Gracie Mansion in New York City. So this idea that, well, by placating Hakeem Jeffries, by not taking on Hakeem Jeffries, you're going to get respect from him. You're building power. He'll be more inclined to work with you. I don't see that at all. Trump, the ultimate narcissist, the ultimate guy who just wants, power for power's sake, which is a lot like Hakeem Jeffries, right? Hakeem Jeffries takes Apex Shakur. That's what Charlemagne calls him, Apex Shakur. Because the money, right? I get the money. I do whatever. Wall Street, I'll take their money so I can have power. You wonder how much power you really have when you're a puppet of Wall Street and Netanyahu. But okay, well, you are the House Minority Leader. That's a pretty big office. Maybe you'll be the House Majority Leader one day. Who knows? I guess that's what Jeffries is thinking. But the fact that Mamdani won't challenge him or tells Chiosei, we shouldn't challenge Jeffries. This is the wrong time. We shouldn't be spending our money and our energies on taking away this neo-lib warmonger. That actually costs him power. And the fact that Trump meets with Mamdani, placates Mamdani, smooths Mamdani down, I think is powerful evidence that you actually can build power for yourself by taking on other politicians who, even if you don't take him down, obviously Mamdani's not taking down Trump. But the fact that he went after Trump showed Trump, hey, this is a guy to be reckoned with. This is a force to be reckoned with. I can't necessarily get over on him. That's exactly how Mamdani should treat Hakeem Jeffries. From Emogi in the chat, if you want to pull the major party that's closest to what you're thinking, you must. And he's shouting in caps, show them that you're capable of not voting for them. 100%. That is so correct. And Ari is saying, yes, Emogi, agree. All right, 240-242-5646. We'd love to get a second call before Thanksgiving. I'm not going to go too late today, guys. I actually want to get a nap in before the drive, right? Because I got to be driving late. Probably have to drink some coffee, just the whole 9 yards. It's going to be a miserable night for me, so I'm enjoying myself now. Let's get back a little more from the CBS Saturday morning news here with Trump and Mamdani.
And now it looks like we're going to have a communist mayor in New York. That'll be a lot of fun.
And Mamdani previously called President Trump a fascist. But on Friday in the Oval Office, the president appeared to brush aside the label when Mamdani was asked about it.
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay.
So see, look at this. I mean, it's like they're besties or something. Oh, we sometimes call each other names. That's just part of the fun. It is quite extraordinary. But again, it points out that you're not ceding political power when you take on a leader, even the president. You're not ceding power. You build power by challenging power. And you lose power, you lose opportunities when, like Zoran now and AOC now are doing, you say, no, we're not going to go after our corrupt leader.
It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
President Trump previously threatened to pull federal funding from New York City if Mamdani won.
Now, I'm going to stop it here because I don't want to be too praise. I don't want to give Trump undue praise whatsoever. The question I asked in the thumbnail was a kinder, gentler Trump. And I'm not saying yes. No, I'm not saying it's a kinder, gentler Trump. This is the Trump we've always known, the narcissist, the one who is susceptible to flattery, the one who is susceptible to praise. And I think that's exactly what Mamdani did. But let's not go overboard. This is the guy who attacks mercilessly Marjorie Taylor Greene, calling her a traitor, which it just is, I mean, I have a lot of issues with a lot of things she did, but her, the reason he's attacking her is because she's putting America first, because she's saying, no, we should stop all this money going to Israel to kill people. You said you were going to get us out of Ukraine. When's that going to happen? Which he is trying to do, I think, to give Trump some credit. He is trying to do that. Marjorie Taylor Greene has actually put country first by standing up to the leader of her party at great political cost to herself. I mean, she's now stepping down. So I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, Trump is this great guy. Not at all. I'm saying we see who Trump is. We know who Trump is. The way Mamdani is playing him now, is handling him now, is 100% the right way to go. I'm not saying Trump is making a mistake, by the way. I mean, Trump is smart to do this too. Why not? Popular guy, Mamdani, obviously. And you know what else? I heard this on, maybe it was Sam Cedar. Sam Cedar said this on CNN. What Trump did there really undermined Schumer and Jeffries. Because Schumer and Jeffries is, refused until the last second with Jeffries, and Schumer never. Apparently, Cedar says Schumer's never even called Mamdani the mayor-elect. He's never acknowledged, yeah, he's the mayor. He's never even said that. The way that Jeffries and Schumer have steered a center-right course, especially on economic issues in the Democratic Party, has been terrible for our country. But the arguments that they're making against Mamdani were really Trump pulled the rug out completely from under them. And that's a good thing. That's a good night. Could this change in a week? Absolutely. And was Trump motivated in part by going after Jeffries and Schumer? I'm sure he was. But this is good for the left to the extent that Trump can divide somebody who I think has real progressive to leftist tendencies, Mamdani, and somebody who's pretty much a opportunist, but has seized an opportunity on the left in the past, AOC, to the extent he can, meaning Trump, can undermine Schumer and Jeffries and their authority. That's a really good thing and could augur a real opportunity for the left to seize some power in the Democratic Party, if they're willing to, and it seems like they're not. Here is more from that press conference, actually, Mamdani and Trump. Oh, I lost let me see. There we go.
I want to ask the mayor-elect about a House resolution just passed overwhelmingly to condemn socialism, including with 86 Democrats, all of House Dem leadership, and the minority leader.
All right, so the minority leader voted in favor of a resolution to condemn socialism Friday. That's what the question was about. This was after Mamdani said now is not the time to primary Jeffries. This is when AOC, a Democratic Socialist of America member, AOC says now is not the time to primary Hakeem Jeffries. His response, Hakeem Jeffries' response to that, his gratitude is shown by voting in favor of condemnation of democratic socialism, condemning Medicare for all, condemning some type of affordable housing initiative. That's what Hakeem Jeffries did. And you have to wonder again, what possible strategy would suggest that this was a good, what strategy could be working where Mamdani and AOC say, yeah, let's not primary our leader who just condemned our ideology, right? Who just condemned our ideology. We're not going to challenge him, even though the policies he pursues are terrible for our country. We totally oppose them. And he even went so far as to just condemn our ideology along with every Republican. You have to say, what strategy could possibly be working that Mamdani and AOC are following? Right, here's the response to the question about Jeffries.
Endorsement of you. What's your reaction to that?
I have to be honest with you, I focused very little on resolutions. Frankly, I've been focusing...
Condemn socialism.
I understand. I think the focus is on the work at hand. I can tell you I am someone who is a democratic socialist. I've been very open about that. And I know there might be differences about ideology, but the place of agreement is the work that needs to be done to make New York City affordable. That's what I look forward to.
All right, so I'll stop it there. So I thought that was a great answer by Mamdani. Where he said, hey, I don't worry about these resolutions because they're meaningless. They're powerless. They're toothless. But it does suggest, obviously, the fact that the House Dems, almost 50% of them, led by the minority leader, condemn socialism. It tells you they're not moving in your direction, Zoran. It tells you that they're not, if you get the majority back in Congress, now obviously he won't be in Congress, but if you had a majority, unless a Democratic majority, they're not going to vote the way you want them to. Your ability to generate, the kind of support from the federal government for the policies that you want in New York City is going to be obviously limited when you have a leader of your party who is so disdainful of your ideology. Now, again, I thought he handled it perfectly. Oh, it's not a big deal. My goal is to work to make the life better in New York City, and that's a shared goal. So he's saying, hey, the minority leader, Jeffries, shares my goal. Now, Trump said he shares his goal. Trump right out there said, yeah, we need more affordable housing in New York City. And at one point, Trump said, yeah, I would live in Zoran Mamdani's New York City. I would feel comfortable living there. I don't know that Jeffries has said that. Jeffries said, I condemn socialism. And that seems to be what Mamdani wants, right? Free buses, that's socialism. I mean, it's, socialism is where the government owns the means of production. The buses are one aspect. Transportation is one aspect of the means of production. But obviously, he's not talking about some kind of government takeover. So Zoran's not really. I mean, every economy is mixed. Every economy has some government owned aspects, some private aspects, even the most communistic. There's some private actors making decisions on their own that aren't central planned. And there have to be. But the idea that you don't primary a guy who, after you win a resounding victory, and you even say you're not going to primary him, the idea that that guy turns around and condemns socialism, I think really puts paid to the idea that this was some sort of good strategy, or this is thinking outside the box by Zoran, or he's playing three-dimensional chess. Not even close. Okay, I thought, I've heard some, look, Marjorie Taylor Greene is just is not somebody I can't stand. She just isn't. I mean, I actually, was in when she was her right to sit as a congresswoman was challenged by an organization I was part of because she allegedly, committed insurrection. She was allegedly part of the insurrection. And she apparently did give, she wasn't opposed to that January 6th rally at the Capitol, which did turn into a riot and trespassing and illegal entry. And it was scary. It was threatening. It It could have been really bad. It didn't turn out to be as bad as it could have been, but it was bad. So this guy, Mike Nellis, who does a podcast, I guess I'm on his list, sends me this. Can someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene really change? Not without some meaningful accountability. And I thought this was a really weird, like I was thinking about this question. This is designed to like undermine her. It's designed to say, we can't work with Republicans. It was designed to support AOC when she said, I'm not going to vote against funding the Iron Dome just because Marjorie Taylor Greene wants me to. You think MAGA Marjorie is on your side. You got another thing coming. And it just misplaces it. It clearly shows a fundamental misunderstanding of what politics is or should be about. Politics is or should be about getting what you want, right? It's like the art of the possible, right? Politics is the art of the possible. So if Marjorie Taylor Greene is on my side on an issue, I'm working with her on that issue. So if she says, let's not fund the Iron Dome, like, yeah, let's not. I'm with you. We'll vote in favor of not funding the Iron Dome. Now, you might say, well, there are times when it really matters how somebody is. If you're voting for somebody to be president and you're really not sure about a person where they're going to stand on certain issues, like will they support Medicare for all or won't they? Well, then you do look at their history. They haven't clearly come out in favor of a particular policy. Then you look at their history and you say, well, have they, how were they in the past? If Hillary Clinton, she said after she voted for the Iraq War, she said 10 years later, oh yeah, it was a mistake. That was a mistaken vote. Did she really change? Was there reason to believe she changed? I would say there was no reason to believe it. There was no accountability taken. She wasn't on, if there had been a vote in Congress after Clinton supported troops in, boots on the ground in Iraq, supported destroying Iraq, if there had been a vote in Congress after that and she voted against an intervention, against a military adventure, she hadn't supported taking Honduras democracy away from the Honduran people and giving it to a military tyrant. She had shown after her bad vote in support of the war on the people of Iraq that she was against these disastrous interventions. I'd say, okay, yeah, I believe she might have changed. And when making a decision on whether to support her for president, I might have voted for her in the general election. I would have said, well, yeah, she has changed. So when you're voting for someone and you're considering whether they're really going to be on your side, you might say, yeah, they did a bad thing in the past, but now I think they'll be better. That doesn't matter with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't live in Georgia. I wasn't asked to vote for her. Whether to support policies that she supports that I like. Of course I would support them. And frankly, I do think she really changed. She clearly showed accountability. She stood up to the leader of her party and she paid a tremendous price. She's even stepping down now, which we're going to get a take on that in a moment from Medea, for whom I have great respect. But this is the kind of headline that I find so counterproductive. Can someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene really change? Like we're supposed to look into their soul. I don't care about people's souls, and nobody cares about anyone's soul. They care about whether they're going to do something good for you or bad for you. Are their policies positive or negative? The billionaires who got behind the guy who owns Christie's, Cassitamidis, I guess, big time supporter of Andrew Cuomo. He doesn't care about Andrew Cuomo's soul. Everyone knows Andrew Cuomo's soul is dark. But they supported him because they thought correctly, I assume, that he wouldn't raise their taxes. And they think Zoran will. So they don't care about whether he's really changed or whether Zoran, nobody cares. Is Andrew Cuomo the same guy who was killing grannies and slapping fannies, or isn't he? Of course he's the same guy. He hasn't changed. He never showed any accountability. He hasn't taken act, and nobody cares. It's just whether the policies are good or bad. His policies would be bad if you care about poor, struggling, working people. They're good if you're a billionaire and you don't want to pay your fair share. So this whole idea of change, no. It's what matters is what your policies are. There are times when you might ask it if there's an important election, and the person is taking the right side on issues, is taking the correct side on issues for a change. Then you wonder whether you can trust them. But this is just an absurd question to even broach. Marjorie Taylor Greene clearly took accountability. Marjorie Taylor Greene voted for the release of the Epstein files. That's taking accountability. That's going on the record. Now, you might say, well, she didn't acknowledge she played a role in January 6th, and that could be relevant down the line. But on issues that are important, she voted the right way. And Medea gets this, right? Medea totally 100% nails this. I think actually Medea is a little, arguably a little too effusive in her praise here. But let's play the clip because this is what matters. What matters is what a person is doing, what they're going to do, what they have done. And, what, to the extent that what they've done in the past will tell you what they'll do in the future. According to Medea Benjamin, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a pro-peace, anti-genocide advocate. She's acted in that way. And as long as she does that, we want her in Congress. Why isn't my video? There we go.
I just heard the terrible news that Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to resign from Congress. And why do I say terrible news? Because she has been the most important anti-war voice in the Republican Congress. And she's better than over 90% of the Democrats in Congress. She has been against all war, the war in Ukraine, Israel's war in Gaza, the war now, potential war in Venezuela. She's been against them all. And why? Because she says she cares about domestic issues. She wants people to have affordable housing. She wants them to have health care, which is why she defied her party and went with the Democrats during the shutdown. Trump was furious with Marjorie Taylor Greene when she came out in favor of releasing the Epstein files. He started calling her Marjorie Trader Greene. Her leaving sends a terrible message to all the other Republicans who might disagree with Donald Trump on an important issue and now will be too afraid to do that. Her resigning also is a win for AIPAC because she said she will not take AIPAC money. AIPAC wouldn't give her money. And she said to AIPAC, bring it on if you're going to go against me. So I say to Marjorie Taylor Greene, we need you in Congress. I disagreed with her on so many issues. Every time I would go to her office, I'd see one message out there that I hated. It would be something like, there are only two genders, male, female, trust the science. Or there'd be a map of the Gulf of Mexico saying, it's not the Gulf of Mexico, it's the Gulf of America. So many issues. But she also always had a sign on her door that said, if you're here to represent a foreign government, you are not welcome here. She was truly America first. And so no matter what issues we disagree with her on, let's remember two things. One, recently she was on the TV show The View, and she said she apologizes for being involved in all of the divisive issues and for saying terrible things about other members of Congress. She evolved. She apologized. Isn't that what we want members of Congress to do? And the other thing is we have to reward members of Congress who move on important issues like genocide, important issues like anti-war. So I just called her office and I left a message saying, Marjorie Taylor Greene, please reconsider. Don't resign. We need your anti-war voice in Congress. And you can do the same. You can call her at 202-225-5211, press 2, and tell her, please do not resign. Stay. Let's fight it out together. Let's end war.
All right. So, I don't know how you can argue with that message. Again, I thought maybe there were, Marjorie Taylor Greene is very corporate in a lot of ways. But yes, she did vote to continue the shutdown. So I give her a lot of credit for that. I got nothing more to say. Medea nailed it, right? This whole idea, well, we've got to look into Marjorie Taylor Greene's soul to see if she really is accountable for the bad things she did. And Medea's like, wait, no, we don't, because she votes against war. And even if you are going to say we got to look into her soul, she acknowledged she was too she was unpleasant. She was nasty to the she was too hyper partisan. So what that guy Nels is talking about is ridiculous. It's all designed. What he was doing is designed to maintain the hyper partisanship, which, by the way, was even what grandstander Raskin was doing when he said to Marjorie Taylor Greene, "Oh yeah, come on over to the Democrats. We'd love to have you." Not, "Hey, we love having you as a Republican because you're voting the correct way on many important issues." Which, by the way, he probably doesn't agree with, because he didn't support defunding the Iron Dome. He didn't support cutting off aid to Ukraine. She's better than most Democrats, actually, and on an incredibly important issue. Endless war. All right, 240-242-5646. I just want to highlight this real quick. William Neal used to be a friend of the show. I will always consider William a friend. I like William. We got into it on Ukraine. He was a supporter. He continues to be a supporter of endless war with Russia. And I don't get it. I just don't. So my advice to President Zelensky in Ukraine: fight to the last man and the last civilian if necessary. No. The peace, quote, plan that Trump is working on right now, and apparently Ukraine is going to go along with it, is not the utter capitulation that the ceasefire in the Middle East has been. It isn't tantamount to genocide the way the ceasefire in Gaza appears to be tantamount to genocide for the Palestinian people. We'll see. The jury's sort of still out on that, I guess. Russia is not Israel. Russia is not as evil as Israel. Russia has not demonstrated a desire to wipe the Ukrainian people off the face of the earth. Russia's done some really bad things. Russia's kidnapped Ukrainian children. There's an argument there. Were they Russian? Were they Ukrainian? It's still bad. You take them away from their parents. It's not a good thing at all, to say the least. But we're not talking about the end of Ukraine the way, at this point, we've kind of talked about the end of Gaza. Not completely. That's why I said, I grudgingly supported the ceasefire, would have voted for if I was in the UN, the ceasefire in Gaza, because there did appear to be an international force contemplated, and Palestinians would have some determination over their lives. The situation in Russia and Ukraine isn't like that. The situation in Russia and Ukraine is there was a terrible war fought. Russia did occupy, did seize territory, won it. It won it on the battlefield. And the lands that Russia wants, as I understand it, in eastern Ukraine, are arguably Russian. At least the people who live there are 50, 60% Russian. They speak Russian. They consider themselves Russian. That doesn't mean it should be part of Russia. I'm not necessarily saying, it's fine to have a country where you have areas where people speak a different language. I mean, I'm totally good with that. On balance, I'd probably rather live in Ukraine than Russia. But I don't want to see Ukraine utterly destroyed, and it's almost there anyway. And if I'm a Russian and I'm a Ukrainian child, or a Ukrainian mom, or a Ukrainian dad, I don't want to see everyone killed. So I don't agree with William. I don't view Russia as this, and I don't think it's reasonable. I don't think it's rational to view Putin as a threat to Western Europe, to the security of countries west of Ukraine. I don't think that's legit. Russia is close to bankrupt. Russia's economy is not doing well. Russia is not an enormous country in terms of population the way it was during World War II, when Hitler, made a terrible, terrible miscalculation and invaded Russia. It's a very different country now. It's a country with a shrinking population. It's a country that isn't, and under Stalin, there was sort of a little bit of juice, I guess, from the government. It's kind of dissipating now. Western Europe Germany, France, even Poland, they're the countries with some growth. Scandinavia. Russia is not a threat to those countries. Yes, make peace. I do not understand this idea that Russia needs to be resisted the way the UK, way Churchill resisted Hitler. It's not the same. These things are not the same. And death is permanent. It would be terrible for the war there to be endless. All right, 240-242-5646, 240-242-5646, just a few more minutes. I guess I want to end with be a little bit shorter show than usual. I got to tell you, folks, I got this new dog. I love her. You may have seen her. I think she was maybe on one video. She is a lot of work. Oh, my gosh. She is needy, and she's taking away some of my planning time. So there it is. That's my kind of weak-willed excuse. I wanted to show, if I could, let me see if I can get it up on the screen for you. And you may have seen it. I've shared it certainly in Halitics, which, by the way, and I haven't even done this, so let's do this real quick. Don't forget, click like, click subscribe. We definitely want more and more subscribers. Be very, very cool. The more we get. And by the way, join us on Facebook as well. Lost some Facebook posters, commenters. Sorry about that. Love to see the comments. They can be very, very hype. They can be partisan, just not mean. I just don't want the meanness. I can't take the mean stuff. We don't do that on Halitics. I wanted to show you this great video. Guy I know actually was part of it. I'm not going to out them because they may not want to be. But yeah, so here we go. The BB lap dogs walking along the mall is awesome. Let's see if we can get it. Let's see if we can show you this. It's really, really powerful stuff. It's hilarious. I don't know if there's audio for it. We'll see. I never heard the audio. I don't think so. But these masks are just amazing. They also had, this has gotten international attention. The Times of Israel just going bat crap crazy because there's another video where these 5 wonderful people are enjoying a meal of, I guess, Palestinian bodies, right? Like their innards and things. And some Times of Israel calling it anti-Semitic, like the blood libel, Jews eating the blood of others. And I'm like, well, but they're kind of sort of doing that. Maybe they're not eating the people they kill, but they're killing them, and they're killing them in brutal, disgusting, horrible ways. And it needs to be shown. The world must know about this. And so I really give enormous shout out to Azami and the team. In fact, I got to tell you what, I'm jealous. I wish I had put together, I wish I was part of the team that was able to put this amazing performance art, because that's exactly what it is together. So Bibi Netanyahu takes a walk. Yeah, there they are with their dogs. Let's keep playing it. Just walking along the mall. It's quite astonishing. There's Bibi walking his dogs. The masks are incredible. So I'm, like I said, jealous because I think this is just really powerful and makes a statement that, words alone can't make. It's the imagery as well that really makes such a big, big difference. We love biscuits, dog biscuits, and genocide. There we go. Thank you for this valuable, powerful video. Oh, see, I can't. There we go. Let's see one more time. We'll see if we can get the whole thing in there. Oh, that doesn't want to show it. I'm not sure. There we go. Good boy, good boy. So, who's BB's best lab dog? It's I don't know how much of a difference any of this makes, but I think it's really important. And this is what we need to keep presenting over and over and over again. 240-242-5646 is the number. But don't call now, because I'm going to end the program. Hope you have a great week. Thank you so much for being part of Halitics. Enjoy the holiday.